All right, guys, I'm recording 3 videos today, and this might be the most important one. So, number 1 is going to be, are books a important skill? Do books change your life? Do books change your life? Which some people will argue they don't, and that action is the only way to change your life, right? But I would argue against that. Number 2 is workout and meditation. Workout and meditation should become like brushing your teeth. They should become like putting on clothes. If you work out and you meditate, I promise you, you can take on anything that the day throws at you. Any problem, any challenge, any stress, any emotional fucking uptick that you didn't see coming, you can take it if you would work out and you would meditate. It makes everything in your life 100 times easier, including sleep, including work, including business, including selling, including charisma, including people skills and relationships. All of it becomes easier if you would meditate and work out. Number 3 is from the book that I'm reading right now, which is called Never Split the Difference. And in this book, Chris Voss is talking about how to negotiate with people, negotiate with terrorists. And he's an FBI negotiator who basically saves hostages from getting their heads blown off. And he does it over and over and over and over again. And what he said is, and I'll read it just like this verbatim. Our techniques were the products of experiential learning. They were developed by agents in the field, negotiating through crisis and sharing stories of what succeeded and what failed. It was an iterative process, not an intellectual one. As we refined the tools we used day after day, it was urgent. Our tools had to work because if they didn't, someone died. So there are a lot of useful things that I want to unpack from that. So let me go through them one by one. Number 1, our techniques were the products of experiential learning. You want your skills and your techniques that you apply day to day to your problems, to your thinking, to your relationships, to your money making, to your fitness, bodybuilding, whatever it is. You want your techniques to be products of experiential learning. You don't want a bunch of concepts in your head that you're trying to memorize all the time so that you can tell them to people. You want to master the basics of your thing. Is it math? Is it making money? Is it, like I said, working out? You want to master the basics of your thing and run those over and over and over and over and over. Masters know that the most important thing that you can work on first, because you can't skip it, if you do, you're going to come back to it no matter what, is the basics. The basics are the most important thing to master. Foundation is important. Foundation is important because you get stuck at a certain point if you don't build a strong foundation, right? If you go start something and you don't have a mentor or a master to study, and you come up with all these terrible habits, like say you try to start fighting or something, and you come up with all these terrible habits. Now when you do get a master 3 years in, because you're like, I'm stuck, I'm capping out here, I can't get any further, and I need help. You go to a master. Now the master has to untrain you from 3 years of bad habits that you built up. Right? So master the basics. Don't try to skip them or you're just going to come around. The short route looks like skip the basics. Go to the techniques, right? The long route looks like mastering the basics and then building up from there, right? Maybe you're starting on social media. What happens is, though, you skip the basics and then it ends up being the long route because you have to come back. The guy who builds up his mastery around the basics at his foundation, and he lays a foundation of concrete and builds on it with a foundation of steel framing, instead of laying a foundation of quicksand and building on it with a foundation of scaffolding for his framing, right? It's a very different person later, right? At the beginning, it looks like the guy who's mastering the basics and the master's having him hit the same tree over and over and over and over and over and over. It looks like he's not going to do anything. It looks like he's not going anywhere, but he's sharpening his blade, right? He's sharpening his axe. And so when he goes to chop down the tree, it comes down easily. The other guy is just running. He's chopping at the tree with an unsharpened axe, and he's going to be here for years and years and years to come with never making that much progress. And so our techniques were the products of experiential learning. You want to learn your techniques, your skills that you apply day to day. You want to learn them through experience. You do not want to have a bunch of concepts in your head and think that you're smart at business because you've read 50 business books. That doesn't matter. Get in the field. Build one business and fail. Build a second business and fail. Build a third and fourth and fifth business and fail. Then you'll get the sixth one to work. Then the seventh one will work. Then the eighth one will work better than those two. And on and on and on you go. So gain skill through experience, not through concepts. He says they were developed by agents in the field, meaning they were in the field doing the work, right? And negotiating through crises, meaning they didn't even know what to do. They just had to make this happen. They had to make it work. And they were in the field doing action. But they were also in the field pushing themselves out of their comfort zone. They were doing stressful action. Right? In the gym, you build muscle through pushing through the reps that are absolutely fucking painful. The ones that are telling you, like your mind is telling you to stop. This is getting hard. This is very painful. Stop. Those are the reps where all the gains come, right? Those are the reps you lean into. So you want to push those last 2 reps out of your 10 to the point where you're failing. You can't even push up anymore. And that is where 90% of the growth comes, right? So he says they were negotiating through crisis. So they were putting themselves into stressful situations. And then they were sharing stories of what succeeded and what failed. Okay, so they were reflecting on their situation. They were recording when they were doing the situation so they could reflect back on it and take lessons from it, right? Of what succeeded and what failed. What did I do well? What did I do poorly? What could I do more of? What could I do less of? That's how you get better and better and better, right? It was an iterative process, not an intellectual one. They were iterating on their actual actions and then going back in the field and doing them again, right? Not thinking about it, not writing a whole bunch yet. You can write a whole bunch after you've already been in the field and you need to pull those thoughts out of your mind. Yeah, sure, write about it. Reflect on it with writing. As we refine the tools we use day after day, that's another hint, day after day. They use these tools every single day, meaning if you want to build skill, if you want to build muscle, be consistent. Consistency is the key. If you want to be great, master being consistent first. Master showing up every single day. Master making it a routine or making it a set of habits that you do over and over and over. And at the beginning, habits start off as routine. They start off as deliberate routine that you don't want to do, that don't feel automatic. Habits happen after you've repeated a routine enough times for it to become habitual. After it's become a heuristic in your brain, because it's the human brain's way of saving energy and not forcing you to rethink through things, the same things every single time, right? So over and over and over, you're going to repeat a routine like working out at 6 a.m. And then ultimately it will become a habit that takes you less energy to do than to not do, right? You just wake up, you do it. It's like a robot. And then lastly, he says, and it was urgent. It was urgent. They had to work on these tools. And so that's another hint. Give yourself deadlines for your goals. Give yourself deadlines for your skills. I need to get better at content by the end of this month. Why? Like, make it a must. Ask yourself why. Why must I? What is going to be in my life if I do this? That's good, pleasurable. And what is going to happen to me if I don't do this? That's painful. That's bad. Our tools had to work because if they didn't, someone died. Pretend like someone's going to die if you don't work on your skills, if you don't achieve your goals. And the last line that he shares is, but why did they work? That was the question that drew me to Harvard, because he was talking about how he went over to the school of Harvard because they were the professionals in negotiating. And he had all these negotiation strategies that worked in the field. He knew they got results, but he had no way to articulate them to other people. He couldn't, they weren't intellectual in their mind and they weren't written out, but they knew these worked. These things that they did worked. They just didn't know why. And so the question that he had to go to the school was why? Why did the things we do work? And does anybody else know the answers to those questions? And that brings me to my last point that I want to make, which is that Charlie Munger said, if you want to become smart, if you want to become an intelligent individual, the question you must ask about everything in your life, as you go through it, as you learn it, as you apply it, as you get results, is why? Why? That's the question. Like, why is the most powerful question in the world? And as a child, you ask so many whys. We've all seen the jokes in the movies, right? When a little kid's like, this is going to happen. Why? And then the parent's like, because of that. And he's like, why? And he's like, because of that. And he's like, why? And he's like, because of that. He's like, why? He's like, would you shut the fuck up? Right? But the kid keeps asking why. But we get conditioned out of asking why about everything. Why is the question that leads to so many answers and to you actually being able to understand, not just know things, but understand things, right? Very different. We all know lots of things. We all know how things work, that we have no idea how they work, right? So if you ask why, you start to get to the bottom of why do things work? How do things work? And so you start to build by asking why, a foundation of knowledge, a foundation of understanding that you can build on top of, instead of everybody else having all these concepts memorized from random people that have told them things in their life. Much different. So just something I wanted to share from the book. I'm sure this is going to be a killer-ass book. Many people have recommended this book to me, so I finally got it, started reading it, and that was something I wanted to share. With that, I'll leave you guys. Look out for those other 2 videos that I mentioned at the beginning. They'll be coming very soon. But other than that, please have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys later. Peace.